All right. I hereby open the regular meeting of the Board of Education of Chickasha Public School District 26I-001. This meeting was properly posted in compliance with the Oklahoma Open Meetings Act 25 West Section 301, 314 at 6 p.m. All right, call roll, please.
Howard. Here. Cliff. Curtis. Here. Gil.
Here.
Worth. Here.
All right. For the Pledge of Allegiance, we have Chickasha Middle School. Pledge.
United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Davis and Mr. Carter.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Crossley. Happy birthday to you.
All right. 4, recognitions. We have our Chicken Express Employees of the Month for April. Who's presenting? Are we waiting on you, Jay? Now?
Pretty fancy guy. Go for it. Go for it. See, Chase had a game. I know Chase had a game, correct?
Correct.
I'm sure about that.
So Chase Johnson is our Chicken Express Employee of the Month. Chase has been with the district for 6 years coaching. He's taught the last 4. He's an Oklahoma history teacher at the high school. His wife, Allison, teaches at Grand, and they have a 1-year-old little girl, AJ. And Chase enjoys long walks on the beach. I'm just kidding. Chase does a great job for us. Kids love him. He loves them, puts in a ton of time. He's actually coaching a baseball game at Elgin right now. He would love to be here, but obviously he's got other duties. But we love Chase and appreciate him very much. Thanks.
Linda, Daniel, say anything about Linda?
Linda Hawkins works in our central kitchen. And she's one of those employees that does anything that you ask her to do. And she does a lot of things without being asked to do them. And her main job is dishwasher in the central kitchen. And I walked in and talked to her this morning, and she was very excited to be the Chicken Express support employee of the month. And I asked her if she was going to be here tonight. She was unable to attend tonight, but she's one of those employees that you like having with you at all times, just because she'll do whatever she needs to do to make everyone a success. Linda Hawkins is our support Chicken Express Employee of the Month.
Thank you, Brad and Kelly.
So our support employee of the quarter is Mike Menard. Come on up here, Mike. In the nomination form, this is what was said about Mike. Mr. Menard is always willing to do whatever is asked of him. He has helped make the route for virtual food delivery possible when there's a bus driver absent. He's always willing to fill in. Right now, he's doing an additional midday shuttle due to our driver being out. Always has a smile, has something nice to say to his coworkers, even when he is not feeling well himself. So, Mike, congratulations.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate you. Great job. All right. Item 5, reorganization of the Board of Education. Sure. I mean, that order's not correct, but sure.
Would make a motion to nominate Robin Morse for president.
Second. Yep. Yes.
nominate Lori Allen for vice president.
I'll second. Curtis,
Yes.
Allen, Morris, yes.
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Kara Gertis for second vice president.
Second. Not vice, but second. McGill,
Yes.
Morris, yes. Allen, Curtis, yes.
All right, that completes the reorganization of the board. Takes to item 6, public comment. Do we have anything, Ms. Kelly? Okay,
Yes, I do. I have a presentation. On behalf of the board. Who wants to be memorized? We're excited to start kind of maybe a presentation of the school board president so that everybody on the board has an opportunity to look at one slide. Kind of the flow. So, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Swing around, get back into the next.
item 7, discussion vote to approve or not approve the OSSBA continuous strategic improvement process, statement of understanding. Ms. Stephanie?
Just go fast. Speaks, sorry. This is so we've been talking about long-range strategic planning for quite some time. And I'm proud to be able to bring this process to you tonight. This is literally the next step in our work for moving the district forward. We've had a successful year. We've passed our first bond issue in 11 years. But this will help us develop our vision and mission statements, our belief statements. This will work with our own staff and community members and leaders from across Chickasha as we do this process over the next 8 to 10 months. K-20 Center is a big part of this process and helping us just mine data to see where things are at, give us information as we develop goals. And so I'm going to turn it over to Stephanie, but I think this is the process is a great next step for us to go.
Great. Well, hey, good evening. It's good to see you all. And some of you all I recognize from being around from the superintendent search when I got to spend some time in your community. So it's nice to see all of you again. I believe each of you have either electronically in a symbol or perhaps a paper copy of the proposal. So really what I'd like to do, I just want to provide you a real big 30 kind of foot view of the process and give you an opportunity to ask some questions, but just know that this will feel like an elephant. And trust me when I say that there are lots of small steps that we take to get us to that end result. So just keep that in mind, that we do have a process for doing that. One of the things I really want you to know and understand is kind of where this came from. We in 2012 and 2014 worked on a process, vision process with COSAR Administrative Association and the School Board Association. And we did research over 2 years to really try and identify some of the key aspects that the schools can implement and do with fidelity that it really shows marketed improvement in student achievement and improving the climate and culture in schools. One of the pieces of research that we came across during that study is the importance of districts locally bringing their people together to talk about the direction of the school. You know, what are the expectations that your parents and your community and your business leaders have for the graduates of Chickasha Public School? We really quickly found out that although that was one of the recommendations, we didn't have a vehicle to help school districts do that. So OSSBA went back to the drawing board, the research drawing board, so to speak, and pulled in the K-20 Center. And we researched for another year strategic planning models. And so what you have before you is what we have felt like have procured the best practices from a variety of different models, business as well as education, and have put that into a model that we are using here called continuous strategic improvement. So all that to be said, to let you know that this process is research-based. It's not something that we have just pulled out of the air willy-nilly. And in addition to the research we put in to develop the process, we have continued to do research along the way and continue to make adjustments and refinements. So, overview of the process. Phase one, it's a four-phase model, and the first stage is what we call engage. And that's the foundation of your plan. That is an opportunity for us to really, really visit with your stakeholders through face-to-face focus groups, as well as online surveys, to compile all of that data that's going to answer one big question for you all, and that is, where do people think you are? Like, where are you as a district? The big questions that we are going to ask that we'll have answered during that time, that engage phase, is what does your community believe about education? What are their beliefs about that? What are their values? What do they really value when it comes to the education that their students are getting? And what are their expectations for whenever they graduate? So again, all of the questions, whether they're face-to-face or through the survey, are designed so that when we theme and code those, you get the answers to those questions. All right. So once we complete phase one, we call that the research term, the qualitative data, the words, the language, the feelings, the thoughts. While that is happening, we will also be working with Rick and the central office team. Hang on, Kelly, you can do it. We've been through this before. She's my go-to girl. To help us gather the quantitative data. And this, of course, will involve all of your staff as well. So we have a list of data points that we will want your district to pull together for us to do and include in our analysis. And it's things, your student demographics, your absenteeism of students, your absenteeism of teachers and staff. What are some of the processes and programs you already have in place? I mean, our goal is really to help you kind of collect everything so that we can look at that globally. So that's happening in conjunction with that phase one. So at this point, we have qualitative data, then we have quantitative data, just the numbers people think about when they think about school, right? So when we come to phase two and phase three, which is the plan and the action phase, this is kind of where the rubber starts to hit the road. In phase two, prior to that, again, we'll work with the board and with Mr. Coslin to help you identify your team of 30 people. For a district this size, you're going to need a team of about 30 people. And we will work with those teams over 6 days throughout that next year. The first couple of days in that plan phase is when we're going to work through the data analysis process. So we are really going to help them look through the qualitative data, the survey, the focus group data, and then look through the demographic data and the hard school data that you have here as well. When we finish with those 2 days, gaps will be identified. And at that point, we'll have goal areas and objectives for the school. We go away for a little bit. There's lots of behind-the-scenes work in this. We bring those 30 folks back together for phase three. And then we talk about, so now if we know who we are, and we know where we are because of the hard data, then the next big question we need to ask ourselves is, where are we going? Right? That's what everybody wants to know. Where are we going? So we have a really good baseline, so to speak, of this is where we are. So where do we want to go? And then I think the next most important question is, how are you going to get there? You know, all of us have an idea, you know, of where you want to go, but it's the same thing with driving. You have to have a map to be able to get there. And so that's what happens in that phase three, is really developing the learning objectives, the initiatives, and more importantly, the action steps that go along with carrying out your plan. The phase two and the phase three team, again, we're made up of 30 of your stakeholders, and they are going to represent broadly board members, administrative teams, teacher teams, students, as well as community and business leaders. So it's a good representation, and we're very, very strategic about how we group those folks. So for instance, if we team that's working on math academic standards. Well, we went to a high school parent with a middle school teacher or maybe a high school student, a middle school teacher, and a community member that has a person in elementary. So we really want to try and even within the group of our 30, we're going to have diverse groups, just so that we can really explore all the things around those issues. So essentially, when we finish with Plan 3, Phase 3, you have a plan. We'll bring it back to the board for you to approve, and you all will be very, very closely tied and communicated with throughout this process as well. We have communication pieces that go along this that will work with you to put out to your community. At the end of each one of these stages, you actually have a hard deliverable. So we'll talk to you about what is that going to look like on your website. Let's get your website up. So we're really going to work hard with you all to try and keep that level of transparency, so that all of your community has a good feel for what's happening during that time. So at the end of that Phase 3, the board will approve the report itself, the plan itself. And then Phase 4 is where we have probably some of the most fun, because then we get to come back and work with your building level teams. And so realistically, with just 30 folks on your team, you can't have all your teachers. You probably can't have all of your administrators. You're going to send small groups of folks to serve on that. Well, in Phase 4, we go back and say, now let's sit down as a team. Let's sit down as a building level team. And what does this look like for you? Right? We help them understand their big overview plan of the district, and then say, so what does this look like in the early childhood center? What's this going to look like in the elementary school? What's this going to look like in the middle school? So essentially what we end up with is each building has their own plan, kind of within your overall plan. And then finally, the piece is we'll really work closely with Rick and his administrative team in regard to what's that flow of accountability need to look like? What's that flow of communication? How do we know that the plan elements are being put in place, that they're being followed, and we're tracking that progress so that we can see that we're meeting those benchmarks that we put in place for ourselves. So that's a big part of that Phase 4. And then just to kind of wrap things up, you don't get rid of us very quickly. You all know this. I told you when we did the search, it's like once you're our people, you're always our people. We'll come back after your first year of implementation and sit back down with your goal leader teams, say, how did it go, right? Last year, we didn't get anything done because of the pandemic. That is not a surprise. There are going to be things. There are going to be things you think you're going to be able to finish really quickly, they won't. And there are things that you're going to think will take a long time, you're going to get done more quickly. And so our job is to help you just reflect through that. Where did you have some roadblocks you weren't expecting? What went smoother? What are some different activities or avenues that we should move around to just continue to get you successful for that year too. So that's that process that we do. And then we are also working, or right now we've been doing this long enough, we're at that place that we're helping the schools that have been implementing for 5 years, do a 5-year review, so they can kind of reset and be able to move forward from there. So our intention is to be with you long term, is to really basically hold your hand during the development. We're going to maybe hold pinky fingers during the implementation. We're going to kind of scoot a little bit farther away, but we're always right there within reach so that we can come back in and help you with the reflection, help you do the reset, so that you can continue to move forward. So I know that's a big broad overview. Specific questions that you would like to know now?
I have one, or actually I have two. In Phase 1, it talks about 1 hour community forum groups, focus groups. Approximately how many of those do you foresee happening?
It's entirely up to your district and who your groups are. We have had districts that we've had as many as 7, 8, 12. It could be small. It can be small focus groups of 4, 5, or 6 people. It could be an auditorium. So again, that's part of that planning process that we'll work with you all on.
Can I follow up on that real quick? I know it'd be community specific, Stephanie, but what are some creative ways you guys have partnered with districts in the past to make sure you get enough survey data back and you get people to show up to community forums and things like that?
Right. I think really a big part of it is the upfront communication. It's really putting the word out there that this is happening and that just getting that message across that the input is very, very important. And I really feel like you all are in a place right now with your new leadership that you have people feeling like their voices are being heard. And it's feeling that way too. I mean, I'm picking up on that myself, and I think that's a fabulous thing. And so this is just another way that we'll just continue to reiterate and just continue to leave that door open. You know, it's going to be important. And we don't, you know, the data is the data. The data is the data. And there will be some things that will not be easy to hear or see or listen to. And that's the business of school. It's just the business, right? It's just life. But the only way we get better is just getting that out there, having some real honest conversations about it, and coming up with some solutions on how to move forward.
Phase 2, it talks about the 30-member group. I know we were looking at all that would be.
Right.
But then in phase 3, it says that one community member with expertise related to each zone period selected by the planning team may be added to the committee.
Right.
So we could actually increase that 30 by adding a person. If we come up with 7 groups, then we would have the potential to add people at that point in time pertaining to that group.
Right, and really the purpose of that, Robin, is, and we leave this up to the school, this will be something that Rick and the administrators can decide, but, you know, we heavily involve the students in phase 2. There's not that much for the students to contribute in phase 3. And so we have some schools that move those 5 students off, and then you're down to 25, and then you can move 3 more back in. We have some that leave the students there, and they will or will not add subject matter experts, SMEs. And the reason we put that in there as an option is an example is one of the very first districts we did. The data uncovered just some real things that needed to happen in their operations, transportation and operations. And they did not have a representative in that group of 30. And so when it came time for us to say, you know what, we've got to make some decisions about this. We've got to bring in a person that really knows if it's going to work or not. So there's that flexibility. It's not a have to,
Right.
but if it's appropriate, then you would.
I'm just thinking off the top of my head, experience always been my background. Let's say we didn't have the graded at the beginning third, and then we got down to a group, and we could add the person character to that group. Or trying, as you said, transportation coordinator now, or the I think the operations. Add those specific, that's an opportunity. All those people get covered, we'll have 30 people here.
Right.
So that would be good enough for us to be able to add those people in those expertise areas to
That's
their
what it
group. Is that what I'm
It is.
interested in?
It is. But a lot of it too is us being really smart about who we put on there to begin with, right? You know, really, what is the most diverse group we can have of those 30? And choose people with more than just one arm of networks.
Right.
You know, so that they can, because really what that team of 30 is, I mean, that's your frontline piece of advocacy. You know, those are your folks that can really talk about and share with the community and share with their peers. These are the things that are going, and wow, they're moving in the right direction, which is cool. Good questions. Any others? Not yet.
Excited, yeah. You're looking plenty along the way, right?
There,
Lots
yeah,
along the way.
there really will be. Just know that we are working, and that's what I'm saying, we change and modify this to just meet the needs of the district. And so while really similar with the search, right? I mean, there is a process, and it's going to look very different for Chickasha, you know, the details of that, than it will for a neighboring district. Same thing with this.
Yeah, I think we're very excited to go this direction. Timing is really good. I think we got a lot of momentum in the community and the district as well. And following up on the success of the bond, and Rick's been here. We're past COVID, and everything just seems like it's lining up to feed this really well. And then so the community knows as well, the ESSER funds, some of the federal funds for COVID relief and COVID recovery will cover this, so that we're not pulling out of our main budget. Which we know we all have to watch right now with what the state funding is. So that helps as well. So let everybody know that.
Make it sentences together, we're ready to get started.
I'm ready to be back in your community. I think it's gonna be great.
Right, any other discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none, call roll please.
Alan? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Keel?
Yes.
Ward? Yes.
All right.
Very good. Thank you all so much, and Rick, I'll be in touch. Robin will be in touch. We'll start setting up the next steps. All right, thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you. And Rob's birthday. I'll let you say it. I know.
All right, item 8, discussion and vote to approve or not approve agreement with school messenger.
This is all part of our digital task force that we've been working with. We actually started the process and the district admin team back in October. And we formed the digital task force right after the first of the year. We've met with them. They've been able to meet with vendors and hear presentations. And so we bring to you tonight 2 different items from the group. The first one here is School Messenger. This will focus on communication of the district. And so on page 24 of your attachment, you'll see everything that is included in our agreement here that we're proposing with School Messenger. The great thing about this is that this particular agreement we can start working on this tomorrow, should it be approved. And so with this, we'll be able to have one central platform that will be able to push out a message that will go out to everyone via phone, text, email, social media. It will go everywhere to them. And so it will help very much synchronize our communications. Teachers can have their own individual way to be able to communicate, but the great thing about it is everything is archived. You'll be able to go back and see every message, every exchange that might occur. So it's very nice. It's very much for parents who go, oh, I missed a message or I got a message last week. They can go back in, pull in that message and see what was on there simply by going through the app that will be available to everyone. So with that, unless Jennifer has something else she might want to add back there, we present to you tonight the School Messenger contract for your consideration. And total cost for year 1 is $3,750, which both of these that we're bringing to you, this and socks, is way under budget than what we put out there. So we're very excited on these 2 things. Yeah. Okay, call roll, please.
Alan? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Keel?
Yes.
Ward? Yes.
I think we reorganized earlier so that Robin gets to do this thing.
That'd be great. Okay, we move on to item number 9, discussion and vote to approve or not approve agreement with SOCS, SOCS. Mr. Crosland.
So SOCS is the other part of this. This is the Arctic District website platform that we'll be moving over to. We had several vendors that came in and presented to the digital task force. They all had scored Rupert. Did this over the course of an afternoon. They actually got to hear all the presentations. And through the course of this and the scoring and then the discussion afterwards, SOCS became a very clear leader on just exactly what we're wanting to be able to do. They are a nonprofit company. Their pricing was really appealing, but more importantly, the services they offer through their district website platforms, the examples we were able to see. I would encourage any of you to go look up SOCS, but in school district to look at their website would be Shawnee Public Schools as one example. We were just very impressed by the presentation, by the customer support, and just overall everything. And once again, the pricing was just spectacular. Ms. Stegman, do you have anything you want to add on this one? She's shaking her head, you know it. So, with that, we submit SOCS for your consideration.
I move to approve as presented.
Any further discussion?
10, discussion and vote to approve or not approve resolution regarding decision of the Oklahoma State School Board on charter school funding. Mr. Crosland.
All right, so this is something I would hope I would never have had to do as a superintendent. But there was a recent decision that was made by the Oklahoma State Department of Education State School Board that was regarding a lawsuit that had been brought against OSDE by the Oklahoma Charter Schools Association. In a meeting that occurred, there was a decision was made, and so I'm proposing a resolution for the board to consider tonight. And I'm just going to read the resolution. It's a page and a half here, but I want everyone to understand what's been going on. On July 7, 2017, the Oklahoma Public Charter School Association filed an emergency petition for declaratory judgment and writ of mandamus against the Oklahoma State School Board of Education in the District Court of Oklahoma County, seeking a declaratory judgment that charter schools have not been properly funded in accordance with the requirements of Oklahoma law, and requesting a writ of mandamus directing SB to equalize funding between charter schools and public school districts. Whereas the foregoing lawsuit has been ongoing since then. On Thursday, March 25th, 2021, the State School Board of Education met in executive session to discuss the pending litigation with the Oklahoma Public Charter Schools Association. Upon returning to the open session portion of the meeting, Board Member Trent Smith made a motion to adopt a board resolution to equalize funding between all public schools and charter schools and to settle the lawsuit filed by the Oklahoma Public Charter Schools Association. They voted 4-3 to adopt the resolution. The State Superintendent of Instruction, Joy Hoffmeister, voted against the motion and advised the other members of SBE that she believed, based on legal advice, that such action violated the Oklahoma statutes and the Oklahoma Constitution and her oath of office. Superintendent Hoffmeister stated that the action of the SBE circumvents the will of the people, the state legislature, by unilaterally determining how public education is to be funded. A draft of the resolution purportedly adopted by SB reflects that SB's action will result in local sources of revenue, such as ad valorem taxes levied for the benefit of the school district's general fund and building fund, being provided to charter schools, despite the fact that the Oklahoma Constitution provides that such levies are only for the benefit of school districts as opposed to charter schools. Whereas district is funded by taxpayer dollars appropriated by the state of Oklahoma and fundraised through local tax levies, including but not limited to general fund, building fund levies provided in the Oklahoma Constitution for school districts, and will suffer significant financial impact if the proposed settlement approved by SBE is implemented. So now therefore be it resolved as follows. Due to the overreaching, illegal, and unconstitutional nature of the action of the State Board of Education, I am requesting the District's Board of Education demand that the State Board of Education meet and rescind the actions of March 25th, 2021, adopting a resolution to equalize funding between all public schools and charter schools, and to settle the lawsuit with OPCSA. And that our Board of Education authorize the superintendent and the district's legal counsel to pursue appropriate actions, including litigation against the State Board of Education or any other appropriate entities, organizations, or persons regarding the State Board of Education's actions of March 25th, 2021. Over the last 5 years, our our funding from the state formula has gone down $2.5 million. In principles, we talk about funding all the time in our meetings. As you know, gross production has been our lifeline, and it has been up and down this entire year. Without gross production coming in, that losing that $2.5 million would cost us positions, would cost us programs, would cost us a quality of education for our students. This very specific decision made by the State Board of Education will impact all of our villages and will impact our gross production. And just, we cannot let that happen. I feel very strongly about this. I'm willing to work with the ebb and flow of things that our state legislature passed. I'm not going to ever sit up here and cry, poor, pitiful, whatever, over what they do. We will work the problem as we always do. But I feel very strongly that this particular decision is unconstitutional. I believe that they are way out of their line of authority. And so, unfortunately, I am bringing this tonight to our board to consider a resolution based on that decision.
Question. Okay, So, aside from the tomfoolery, like with the state board, the charter schools, do they currently get state money, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And so a charter school, like we have to have, special ed teachers, and we have all these things, which is great, provide transportation, that sort of thing. We have to do that because the law tells us, right?
yes, ma'am.
And because we get taxpayer money, right?
If we offer the service like transportation, we get state funding.
But charter schools don't have to do any of that, correct?
That is correct. They do not have to offer special education services. They do not have to offer transportation. They are not bound to all of the mandates that we are bound to. That's right.
And they don't have a publicly elected board, right?
No, they have an appointed
Like I
board.
could just have if I started a charter school, and so now what they've passed, I'm just making sure I get this correct. So now what they've passed is a charter school could open in our district. And even if the locally elected board, which is us, said, no, we don't want you here, the state board can override that, the will of the people, the taxpayers.
Yes,
So charter school could open, and now they get state money and they'll get our local money.
yes.
Okay.
Equal to that of us.
Without the.
And they can decide to just take the 10 smartest kids and that's it.
They could, and they do not have the accountability standards that we do. I mean, folks, case in point, go look at Epic, everything that's going on with the Epic charter schools issue right now. They have still not turned over what for us is just simple request of records, and they refuse to. I'll give you one example, just case in point. You still have never seen the superintendent's contract for Epic. My contract was read aloud on the radio because it's an open record item that anybody can have access to. There's a lot of problems. And when they hold charter schools to the exact same standards and mandates and requirements that public schools are, and we're treated on equal footing, then I will be open to a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just sounds like aside from the nefariousness of the state board, there's a lot of issues. I mean, just prior to that, even outside of that. So yes, I mean, I like this, but I wish more people knew about that because I think, I mean, as a taxpayer, I mean, that's taxation without representation.
Yes.
What was their response to Superintendent Hoffmeister's stand on this? Did they have to have any accountability, any opinion? Did they offer any thought on that?
Their whole, if you go back and watch that state school board meeting, you will hear, and it kills me because he's a Sooner, that you'll hear Trent Smith sit there and say that charter schools are public schools and they should not only receive money moving forward, but they are also entitled to money that they have not been given, making it retroactive.
So then why aren't they held accountable? How come no one's moving to change the policies and make them
That's a great question.
fall into the same thing?
It would be, because every bill that was put out there this year to address charter schools died in committee.
So if they want to take these monies from the children and the taxpayers, then they need to follow the same rules. I think that ought to be, I think that ought to be something that we not want to add that into our resolution though. What was our legal?
This is,
So individually as a district, how can we make our voices heard and offer?
legislators, and that's going to be the key. There are bills sitting out there right now because of this decision. The problem is that with those bills, they are, how do I put this? This is on record. There's a potential that those bills will come out in support of this decision. Folks, I'm very concerned.
So
If you don't talk to your legislators, you've got to. You've got to, because this is, that we are already going to figure out how to do the changes to the state funding formula, which I'm not complaining about. We will work it. But this is an entirely different level.
So what is recourse for the taxpayer?
Legislator, seriously, it's your legislators. Get on the phone, talk to them.
Our recourse is to, as a school district, go along with this resolution.
Sure.
All of our people to
Okay.
make sure that our people, because we're the largest district that both of our legislators represent.
So to help, to be proactive, could we put together something that has the names and the phone numbers very easily found? So if we're encouraging this, we don't expect, I mean, let's make it as easy as possible to put this information out there and literally put it into all of our taxpayers and our constituents' hands so they can make calls easily. I mean, everyone's on their phone. Let's make some more calls to the people who are making these decisions.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and also just one other thing, the state school board is not an elected board. It's appointed by our governor. So the vote was 4-3. All 4 people that voted for it have been appointed by Governor Stitt.
Do we know how many of them have connection with the church?
Not sure. I know Trent Smith is connected with some charter school, but I'm not sure who. And these are all good people. They all want to be advocates for their kids. That's not the point here. The point here is the impact of the overreach of this decision.
And I will tell you from one of my discussions with one of our legislators, which I've had in the last week, my point was, we will talk about all of this when you make charter schools responsible for educating kids like you make public schools. When you put us on equal, as you said, an equal playing field, then we can talk about this. And their response was, I'm serious, they're not. I was gonna say, I think a lot of that was their response. They're not. No, they don't do testing. They don't have public elected boards. They don't have a designed curriculum. Well, that's not what I was told. Well, you look into that and we'll get back together in another week. We'll have another round of discussion about what. So just know that the more phone calls we make, and I know all of us are busy, we don't have time for it, but public ed in Oklahoma needs your phone calls right now. If ever there was a time, it's the time to do it. Our parents need to be on the board about charter schools. Because it's, as Rick said, there's a lot of bills pending on charter schools waiting to see what happens to this.
But yes, not with direction on it, but yes, make it better.
I mean, just like Robin said, like, I know I hear my home about it. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
One of those things that you just assume that it's.
Right.
It's doing that, but it makes sense at some level.
Yeah.
Right, I move to approve the resolution.
We've got a first and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Michelle? Alan? Yes. Jarvis? Yes. Neil?
Yes.
Yes. We move on to item 11, discussion and vote to approve or not approve Form 307, request for approval of federal funds.
This is to appropriate the 2.83 million, or it's actually 2.86 million, they even upped it a little bit, of the ESSER 2 funds. And so in order to appropriate it, since it wasn't done in our original estimate of needs, we have to do that Form 307.
Any questions?
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Michelle, could you call roll? Alan? Curtis? Yes. Neil?
Yes.
Yes. Item 12, discussion and vote to approve or not approve. Oops, then we just did that. How about 13? Nope.
Oh,
We can 11. Okay. Discussion to vote to approve or not approve Form 150, supplemental estimated funds and purchase orders for general roof repairs.
So-
Sigmund or Dan?
It's the same thing. It is because of our insurance claims, we're getting funding for that, and we have to identify that and kind of appropriate that so that we can spend it. The reason why it's a different form is just because of the different kind of money. Federal funds, you can do the Form 307, but just any other form of revenues, you have to do that Form 150.
first and second. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Lord, for the monies.
Alan? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Jill?
Yes.
Forrest? Yes. Item 13, vote to approve or disapprove resolution for school and libraries universal services, which is E-rate for the 21-22 school year. This resolution authorizes filing of Form 471 applications for funding for year 21-22 and the payment of the applicant's share upon approval of funding and receipt of services. Ms. Stegman?
So this is our E-rate discounts that we get through the Universal Library Services, and this is category 1, and this is something that we do yearly. It's just saying that we get 90% of our internet and WAN and those kind of things discounted, and so we would have to pay 10%.
The first and second, any further discussion? Alan? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Jill?
Yes.
Forrest? Yes. Item 14, discussion and vote to approve or not approve school climate transformation letter of commitment, cohort 2. Ms. Freeman?
Last 3 years, we've had a Corner Transform grant, and it has been with Bill Wallace and middle school. And what we're proposing now is to have a district-wide focus. Bill Wallace has done things like, if you talk to a student at Bill Wallace, they know that they are to be safe, be kind, be responsible. At middle school, they've seen a drastic drop in suspension and have had a huge increase in positive phone calls to parents. So we just kind of have this in there because we buildings. We have this building and then this building. We're going to bring this together as a focus. We want to tie it to the strategic plan. And we want to tie everything working to planning. Thank you. So we don't have this in isolation, this in isolation. We want everything to come together through that process. But this is an agreement with the State Department in expanding our efforts to a district effort for school climate transformation.
Yeah, if I remember, we put that in kind of almost at the trial, not knowing, because there's a lot of commitments from the district as well, with record keeping and with some other things, and staff, and so we wanted to see how, and it sounds like you guys like it, well, now we're ready to roll it out district-wide.
The thing about it is they do offer monthly support. So it's not just something you do and you're left hanging out there. Now figure out how to do it, figure out how to make it work. Blair has been our partner from the State Department. She meets with the middle school monthly and their team. She meets with Bill Wallace and their team monthly. This will change the focus a little bit. She'll be meeting with the district team. There'll be some professional development for the district team to do this summer in planning and preparing for this.
Thank you for getting us that mic. I did go back
Sorry, I
and
didn't even think about it.
watched a couple of our board meetings, and the only person that you could hear when I watched the board meeting was Zach, because he had a mic. Anytime any of us or anyone in the audience spoke online, you could make out that thing. So we're gonna try to get better about talking into the mics with people who are watching. I did notice in this that after the terms of commitment, there was a correspondence, and it talked about that you guys are moving forward in conjunction with doing the strategic plan. And it does suggest on here to make sure that it looks like these two need to operate together. And so I guess one of the things that I just want to make note is that the person in charge of this probably needs to be in that cohort of 30 that we're working with on strategic plan, so that we can make sure these line up. Does that make sense in what I was reading? Do you all agree? Okay, I just caught on to that. I was like, well, that's interesting. This can kind of serve.
And Blair and the State Department was real excited about that opportunity, and again, tying everything together. The awesome thing about the strategic planning is you establish who you are as a district. These are our beliefs. This is what we expect. So everything else, we hang our hats on that. And so it just makes sense to tie it all together. Any other questions or discussion?
What are pro-social behaviors?
I'm sorry?
What are pro-social behaviors?
You are teaching things in a proactive manner. So say a kid is running down the hall. You don't say, stop running down the hall. In this school, we use our walking feet. It's doing the, trying to teach the positive way of this is what we do instead of stop doing that. Same as a pre-Ker hits another pre-Ker. Does that fall in our line? Is that being kind? At our school, we be kind, our hands stay to ourselves. So it's that being proactive.
Is this based on positive psychology?
I don't know if you would use the word psychology, but again, it is you develop common expectations. Both sides developed lesson plans related to common areas in their school, such as in the bathroom. I'll go to that simple. In the bathroom with Bill Wallace, these are our expectations. Debbie, some of the places that you guys built your expectations at middle school.
It's not just just a fancy word for positive reinforcement. The proactive piece, as you said, what your expectations are, communicate them ahead of time and reinforce them. That's more than just of it.
Correct. I know that too, when I did this in another district, after those holidays, after spring break, after Christmas break, we would go back over some of our lessons. Now remember, in the cafeteria, our expectations are, this is what we do. At middle school, this is who we are. And so it's laying that groundwork and it's teaching what you expect rather than having to react to misbehavior.
So what kind of data is collected in assessment? What's that?
Right now, the data that's collected is middle school is using a program called Swiss to enter their data, but they are tracking office referrals. They are collecting positive communications. Their referrals, they are collecting them based on where they're happening at. Is it happening more in the cafeteria? Is it happening more in the hall? Is it more of a classroom issue? And then once you see those high targeted areas or those high offense areas, then you go back and look at your expectations for those areas and what do you need to do to tweak those? What do you need to do to establish those to correct that behavior instead of just sending that behavior to the office?
I was also kind of like perceptions of progress. Is that just, how's that defined?
Perceptions of progress.
It just says sharing data with external evaluators as needed. And then it lists up
It says, sharing data with external evaluators as needed, number of office discipline referrals, number of suspensions, attendance rate, graduation rate, and then it says, perceptions of progress. I guess
Well, the perception of progress is going to be at that site. Debbie's telling me too that they share that information, their discipline incidents, they share that at their monthly faculty meetings. So they are evaluating internally if they're seeing progress in that area, and if they're not, then they know they need to regroup and look at that and how to move forward.
so that's sharing internally, not externally.
No, the only external, if the only external person right now that this part is shared with is the numbers, not the names, it's the numbers, is with Blair at the State Department, who meets with the staff every month.
To approve item 14.
motion and a second. Any more discussion? Howard? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Hill?
Yes.
Morris? Yes. Item number 15, discussion and vote to approve or not approve memorandum of understanding 5% incentive pay for math and science teachers, and that's Mr. Meyer.
So one of our goals as a leadership team, and I think all of our goals here, is to retain quality certified teachers and to recruit quality certified teachers. And the next few of these, starting with this one, that's kind of our premise with this. Before moving into this role, I would have been shocked saying that it was easier to find a fully certified special ed teacher than a math or science teacher. But that's where we're at this year. And so it is a long-term goal to invest in the overall pay table, pay structure of how we support our teachers and our support staff. But we feel this is the first step, especially with rewarding those who have stayed, but also getting some of those to maybe finish their tests if they're emergency certified, or recruiting some from the outside as well too. And that's just kind of where we're at. We really saw the need in math, but we can also see with kind of some of the age of some of our science teachers and where we're going right now with supply and demand, that the 5% is much needed.
So much more than elsewhere. I applaud you for your efforts. Discussions or questions?
So the one, like, the ones that are close to say,
Math and they just need their certification, are we helping them get there or?
With our certification. So my office sends out some reminders about testing dates. We have tried to coordinate with, there you are, with adult learning to provide some study sessions. We're actually pretty blessed with having a testing center in our community because it's not as easy in other places, especially the past year. So yes, we have. There's been timelines sent out, really ramping up in December and January about this is where we should be at, and this is a great reward for those people who have done it along the way, because emergency certified, you're 1 year and it can be renewed, but then some of those who are on provisional certificates, within 3 years they have to get classes and tests done. So I think this is just another recruitment piece for us.
Move to approve item 15 as presented.
Second. And the motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call. Howard? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Hill?
Yes.
Morris? Yes. Item 16, discussion and vote to approve or not approve memorandum of understanding teacher raises to $25 an hour.
All right, another way to reward our teachers. When we started thinking back of right now we currently pay 20, and that's been going on since, yeah, at least the 90s. And that's, to be honest, it's pretty typical for districts to use $20 or $21 an hour. I tried to look around at others. The highest I saw was 21 in other districts. And so this is something that we've informally talked with our collective bargaining unit with, but we felt with summer school ramping up, with the need to get some good teachers in there to teach kids in the summer as well too, some of our virtual after school tutoring, things like that, that this is just more money in our teachers' pockets.
Questions?
So the average is 20 to 21?
Yeah, and so that's for off of contract time. That's what I've seen around this area, even in stretching into around Oklahoma City area too, is 20, 21.
So what is your anticipation on success, feedback? Like how quickly do you think that we might be able to see some measurable increase?
I would think with immediately.
That's what I was
So we met last week with each site with summer school plans, and we're going to meet next week, right? Next week, and we kind of put the spieler out there that it would be on the board agenda, and we're hoping that it will help. It'll help more teachers want to as well too. So.
I like it, and I love it because I see that we are continually doing things, incentivizing, rewarding, and continually really striving to boost morale and build things in the district. So I'm really excited. I'm glad about this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Allen? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Hill?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes. Item 17, discussion and vote to approve or not approve memorandum of understanding student accounting. Mr. Myers.
All right, so last month we had an unexpected resignation with a key person that uses our student information system. This time of the year is a huge inundation of student data, end of year reports, helping if sites, principals, secretaries need help with setting up rollovers and things like that. And so we just want to have someone work extra duty for this outside of their contract. So it's kind of a stipend. It may be here and there, but there's a lot of work right now that would go on with it. And there's a lot of the start of June that would go with it. So it's not set hours right now, but they would be working with Ms. Stegman most of it, but with the whole leadership team on some aspects.
Knowing how much work is involved in that, I'm really surprised that I would not be surprised. I'll word it that way. I would not be surprised if you came back and asked for an additional, because I don't know how you're going to track this hours, but I know how much work that is. So not only particularly me, I'm speaking for the board, am I supportive of it, but I can see that you might even need more because it's a huge amount.
Yeah, and the way we kind of settled on some of this is we have a great administrative staff at central office and some really great site secretaries. And so we've been lucky enough to kind of disperse some of those everyday operational things. And so this person's doing a lot of new enrollees after hours. They're kind of getting all the data, putting that in, kicking it back to the sites. And so it's not the full-fledged scope that was happening, but we've been, I feel like doing this as a team. Our sites have been working hard.
We appreciate that.
Any questions? Under discussion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Allen? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Hill?
Yes.
Ward?
Absolutely, yes. 18, discussion and vote to approve or not approve memorandum of understanding for bus driver raise. Mr. Meyer.
All
you're
right.
over the races tonight.
So we have one position in the district that hasn't had a qualified applicant since 2019, and that's bus drivers. And they work hard every single day, and especially in this year, there's been close quarter contact with anything and everything that's coming to a bus, much like most years. And so they really are a great group of people. We've been short, 3 bus drivers a lot of this year. Dan and JD have picked up routes almost every single day. And so we want to increase every step by $2 an hour. And, we started out with this $2. We've looked at the public school personnel reports that we can see about surrounding districts. We've talked to friends that work in other districts, and we feel like this is a good starting point for us to at least get above some of those other districts as well too.
Any questions or discussion? I just hope it's enough.
I know.
Motion, in need of a motion. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to say thank you to all the bus drivers. And you guys are just selfless day in and day out. You give and you give, and our babies and their safety are in your hands. And we thank you so very much. I hope this does bring some appreciation to you guys and also some applicants.
And Dan and Jerry Dawn, good job. I feel like a bus driver when I haul 4 grandkids in my Yukon. And makes me a nervous wreck. So how you guys do it, I don't understand, but you deserve all the pay you can get. Not to mention the certifications. This isn't your typical job. This is certification after certification is required to do this. So the fact that we need to pay them more doesn't surprise me because we pay plumbers more, we pay electricians more, and those also require certifications. So I understand the need for us to pay bus drivers more, the certifications that it takes, and how you do it, never understand. We have a motion and a second. We've had a discussion. Roll call.
Alan? Yes. Meredith? Yes. Neil?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes. Item number 19, discussion and vote to approve or not approve educational technology coordinator job description. And it's Mr. Meyer and Ms. Segment.
So as we kind of move into the next phase of our district, we've talked about a strategic plan that you guys have voted on tonight, or voted on the process. We really feel like we've started to make an investment in ed tech or instructional tech, however you want to look at it. And as we look at investing bond money, maybe potentially running other bond issues in the future, it's apparent that before this year, we were void in some of those technology areas. We started investing money this year with every teacher having access to devices at home as well too, so that they could work if they were quarantined. And this position we feel is pretty critical to using bond money even in the best way possible, and coordinating with teachers for professional development, helping make critiques with virtual school platforms, things like that. And with these next few job descriptions, I think it's important that if we don't find the right person, they won't be filled. We as a team will be making sure that the right person are in these newer positions. They'll be working pretty close with principals and with Ms. Stegman and Pam and I. So we just feel it's a really critical next step.
Discussion.
Move to approve.
Second. We have first and second. I do have one comment or concern on this. I love it. I love that we're doing this. I just want to, I know the virtual thing is new, and I know how much of your time it's taking this year, but we really want our kids to come back, and we want all those kids in the classroom, and I hope that that's where like 90% of our students or 95% of our students are. So I hope that in this person's job scope, they're spending equal amount of time so that they're not totally eaten up with the virtual learning versus working with teachers who, even though they have a computer in their room, they still really don't know what to do with it. So I just want to say, I hope we can keep a percent balance, not a half and half,
Right.
because half our kids are virtual.
And this person would not be over the administrative sides of it. So think in terms of almost every textbook or program or curriculum you implement and adopt has online components as well too. And so that's time getting everyone rostered in there, teaching teachers how to do it. So more of how does it affect the classroom, whether that's in a virtual or an in-person classroom.
Just wanted to make that point.
Yep.
We've got the majority of our kids in the classroom, and I hope this person can spend most of their
And
time.
that's the way we want to keep it too.
That's right. That's
Well,
awesome.
yeah, that'll
Face-to-face learning.
be a valuable asset as well. A lot of times you have really good programs that people use about 15% of the power of, but they just don't get training beyond that or understand what's more. So someone that can come in and specialize and teach that and help out.
Absolutely.
A little better ROI on that investment.
That's right. And I love that we're branching out to some of these new positions. I think that's just shows that as a district, we're moving forward. Yay for us. Okay, roll call.
Alan? Yes. Meredith? Yes. Neil?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes. Item number 20, discussion and vote to approve or not approve student accounting assessment and communications coordinator job description. Mr. Meyer, again.
All right, so I really just proofread and added some things onto the job description, but this person will work mostly with Ms. Stegman, thinking of student information systems. One thing that we've noticed is we have fantastic people working at every site with the data, but we'd like to make it a little bit more uniform for processes of start to finish. When a kid enrolls, what does that look like? How do we build out master schedules more effectively? Being in charge of district testing, coordination, and the communications piece is really so we have someone focusing on that new school messenger website, so that's not being funneled through multiple different avenues.
It looks like this position has a few hats mixed in with it to kind of balance it out.
Yeah, primarily it'll be the student accounting portion. I think that's how Ms. Stegan sees most of it going on, but
Well, I just noticed this one and the other one, they require teacher certification. Is that,
yeah, so we're putting this one on the certified side, especially because, so it would have district testing coordination on it, and to fulfill that role, you have to have state certification.
I do want to add, I noticed that on most of these others, they report to assistant superintendent as well as the curriculum director. With this being the whole aspect of student assessment, I was kind of surprised your name wasn't on here too. That's curriculum.
So we've actually, for state assessment, we've really been splitting that between the two of us, and we can add that if you want to it, but the majority of the scope is going to be under Jennifer's departments.
Awesome. A spot well needed. Do I have a motion?
So,
A motion by, a motion by McGill, a second by Allen?
Yeah.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Allen? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Gill?
yes.
Morris?
Yes. Item 21, discussion and vote to approve or not approve social worker job description. Mr. Meyer.
All right, these next two, 21 and 22, are really kind of a years-long work of the whole team and coordinating with principals and teachers of, we have needs in this community, and as others do, that are very unique with helping people through trauma or through crisis. And I'll just share an experience. We had, you know, a student who earlier this year at one of our schools who was having suicidal ideation, and whenever you don't have someone right there in the front line within 10 minutes that can get to a situation like that, when you have to make sure that, you know, that this person is safe and cared for, it does really kind of exacerbate that need and highlight that our kids are going through stuff way different than what maybe we experienced, and our families are going through things that we that are just being highlighted right now with the way the world is. And we feel like this is an opportune time to make you know, wraparound services, integrated services. If we're doing these works at schools that involve reaching out to families and really getting kids and even staff members if they need it. There have been staff members who have reached out in the middle of the day that they just need someone to talk to. This person would be able to, I don't know if we're on social work or LPC, but the social work aspect would really be connecting people with services and working with that LPC as well.
Okay, no questions. I need a motion. I'll second that. Morse? And we'll have a roll call, please.
Allen? Curtis? Yes. Gill?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes. Item 22, discussion and vote to approve or not approve licensed professional counselor's job description. Mr. Meyer.
All right, this is kind of a continuation on the social work side, but we really foresee this person providing services through referral or self-identify for staff, students, and maybe integrating with the students and families together as well too.
Board members?
If you need it, they're there for everyone. And so on personal experience, I've seen this implemented in another district, and when we had a tragedy strike, it was incredible to see someone get ongoing care in a confidential setting off-site with someone that can follow up with them in a moment's notice if need be. So
thinking about how you guys are gonna be able to get the word out really well so that families know this is available. I think they're both gonna be awesome things, can be utilized really well and help out a lot as long as people know about them. Sometimes that'll be a challenge, but I think it'll be really good.
And I have great faith in your beginning comment when you started all of this and you said, if we don't find the right person, we won't fill these positions. So I feel like our team will do an awesome job filling it. And if they don't feel like they get the great people, then we won't fill these positions. So
And we have principals and teachers who email all the time where I have this kid with this need. Well, you know, when some of us are in and out of our offices all the time, it's really hard to respond to those in time. And now we have people who can connect specifically to the needs that are being communicated.
If you would, between the social worker and then the licensed physician, describe to me or explain it to me on, will those be layering anything together? I can see that there can be crossover, like how those two work together.
I
or
would
do
think
you
that, yes,
anticipate
they could be working together. I do think your social worker is going to have more of the resources and building family connections and hooking them with the right community resources. I see that. Where your LPC, I believe, will do more of the individual counseling as needed, helping with that aspect. But we do see them housed together in the same location, working together to assist.
any other questions? Okay, if not, I need a motion.
To approve item 22 as listed on the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alan? Yes. Curtis? Yes. McGill?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes. Item 23, discussion and vote to approve or not approve recommendation to accept summer school hours. Mr. Crossley.
So this is the same setup that we have used previously last summer. And so we recommend that beginning on June 1st and going through July 30th, summer hours will be 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Fridays will be off. And with those 10-hour days, if you take off any time for sick, leave, vacation days, they'll count as 1.25 day of being out. But this is something typically that we do during the summer, and it worked well last summer, so I would recommend it again for this year.
We have a motion. Second. Any questions or discussion?
Did we have any, last year, did we have any issues on not being there Friday? I mean, I assume there's no major issues we heard about them, but was it regular misses for people looking for anything or anything like that?
We have everything posted. Site.
School calendar. It's not school year. Don't do it. Oh, wait.
We did not hear problems this year.
Jennifer, did you hear of any problems last year?
No.
So, we let our delivery drivers know everything. So far, I have not heard of any complications from this.
Okay. We have motion and a second. We're ready for roll call.
Alan? Yes. Curtis? Yes. McGill?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes. Item 24 is the consent agenda. All items, something like all items will be approved with one vote unless you want to pull one out. We'll start with Ms. Stegman's finance report.
You want?
I think we need to approve more mics.
We'll get that on the next agenda, sir. I'm pretty sure we might see that in the next finance report.
So on the finance report,
You're not on.
finance report, it's a low battery, sorry.
We'll put batteries on that finance report next month too.
Yeah. So on our financial report, our ad valorem is still up. Gross production is still down. The motor vehicle tax is probably the one that's down the most as far as those things. It was 130,000 down last year. Last month. It's 150,000 down this month. So that's one of the ones that we're losing. But as you saw earlier and voted on, we're getting 2.83 additional money with ESSER 2. There's some ESSER 3 money coming. We probably won't get that till next fiscal year, but we have additional funding that's coming through the ESSER funds on that to kind of help us along. The senior citizen building went through, and so we've got that cash available now in our budget. Yes. I also put on, I told you I would give you a budget kind of guide, and that's what you have on your tables, and that's just to help you with looking at budgets and things like that. It has a little bit of everything in it. I consider it a living document, so it'll be something that we keep adding to provide information for you. It has some demographics on it. Some of our technology and inventory are in there. The Chromebook inventory is in there. So that's another document that I've provided so that just to help with budgets and transparency.
Yeah, I really appreciate this, Jennifer. Very well done. A lot of detail, very informative. Go and dig into some things later. Robin and I are going to meet for coffee just so that we're so excited about all this stuff.
Absolutely. But it is a lot of work, but for a board member, it's very appreciated.
Yes,
It really is.
great work.
Since you say this is a live document, should we just hang on to this and we'll be adding to it, changing
Yes.
things out?
Yes.
Okay, any questions about the consent agenda? Anything anyone wants to pull, question?
Motion to approve item 24, the consent agenda as presented. Doesn't mean you need to ask questions.
There's a lot of stuff in there. I might note that there are some just basic job descriptions in there. They weren't anything new. They were revisions and things like that, which is cleanups, which is why they were under consent agenda. They were nothing that we don't normally do. The case in CUDA, negotiations, the intent to go into negotiations were under there, and that's something that we do yearly. I think sometimes it's been done under regular items, but it is something that we incur yearly, and it's just an acknowledgement that they want to do it. So
We would like to publicly thank Home Renewal. We had a public gift. We have
absolutely.
a policy now for those to go certain amounts to Rick and a certain amounts to the board. So we approved that and replaced the wrestling mats for the district. So we thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Okay, we've had discussion. We have a motion. Did you make the motion? Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. I guess if there's no further discussion, we're ready for roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 25, proposed executive session to discuss employment, hiring, or resignations of individuals, salaried public officers, or employees listed under Exhibit A, Executive Session Authority, Oklahoma Statutes 25307B1. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? Do we need to or not? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second? Any other discussion?
The motion to continue, right? Karen?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Ellen? And we're ready for roll call.
Allen? Yes. Jarvis? Yes. Keel?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
All right, folks. Stay. Bye. Run as fast as you can. Next time,
Okay, thank y'all. See you in the morning.
be back.
Careful.
Sean and I and all our story on the back of bikes and showing him we had Christmas thing, but he had the partner on. And, you know, we're all lettered up, you know. So he's in his yard going, hey, and I thought, oh, I'm sure he does. Exactly. I haven't watched them because I haven't read online, but I've been watching. Out of state.
return to open session. The board entered into executive session at 7:29 PM to discuss the hiring, resignations, and retirements of individual salaried public officers or employees listed on Exhibit A. Authorized by Section 25, authorized by 25, Section 307B1. Those present in executive session were Zach McGill, Robin Morris, Kara Gertis, Lori Allen, and Superintendent Rick Roslin. No action was taken by the Board of Education. Board returned to open session at 8:05. Item number 28, motion to vote to approve or not approve the hiring of individuals listed on Exhibit A.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Howard? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Keel?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes. Item 29, motion and vote to approve or not approve the transfer, reassignment, workday adjustments for individuals listed on Exhibit A.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Howard? Curtis? Yes. Keel?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes. Item 30, motion and vote to approve or not approve the resignations of individuals listed on Exhibit A.
Move to approve as presented with the correction with Beaver's English teacher at the high school and not on grant as listed.
Do I have a second?
Should be the high school.
And second by Alan.
Howard? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Keel?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes. Item 31, motion to vote to approve or not approve the retirement of individuals listed on Exhibit A.
So moved. Thank you.
Second McGill. Any discussion?
But we want to thank them. I want to thank them for all their years of service, everything they've done for the district and the kids, and we just really appreciate. We hate to lose them, but we wish them well in the next season of life, and just grateful that we had them for all the years that we did.
Okay.
Come back.
Roll call, please.
Howard? Yes. Curtis? Yes. Keel?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes. Item 32, new business, Superintendent Crosland. Okay, no new business at this time. We move to item 33, Superintendent's report.
So I'd like to say thank you to our middle school for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, and also to our high school choir for the lovely rendition of Happy Birthday. State testing is currently in progress for grades 3 through 11. And it's vitally important to have students at school each day. Making sure they have a good night's rest and a good breakfast are two key items for them being ready. Also, all virtual students in grades 3 through 11 will need to take state assessments. Schools will be reaching out to schedule opportunities for this to occur. And please note, until otherwise noted or informed by Superintendent Hoffmeister, all schools are required to test 95% of all students, virtual and in person. I'd like to say congratulations to Yvonne Kennedy on being named the Region 5 Swim Coach of the Year. This year, 11 swimmers in our team qualified for the state tournament. That is an outstanding accomplishment. I know this is the first time. JD, is this your first time getting this? First time. I'd like to say congratulations to Keaton McKinney on being named to the Youth Leadership Oklahoma program. Only 50 students are selected annually. Youth Leadership Oklahoma is a program for juniors that takes them on a one-week experience that focuses on leadership, trust, problem solving, communication, cooperation, career opportunities, and learn more about Oklahoma. Just to let everyone know, graduation will be held on May 21st, right here in the Activity Center over in the gym area at 7 o'clock that night.
It's our goal, the students' goal, to return to as close to normal traditional graduation at the activity center as possible. We'll be moving board meetings back over to the administration building no later than in June. It's our goal to possibly have them there in May, just depending on schedules and being able to get everything set up with the protocols determined by the COVID-19 map the State Department of Health releases each week. So hopefully, as long as we're in yellow, we're just going to move back over there and we'll be good. Enrollment is now open at all sites. We are offering 2 pathways next year, in person and in virtual. Anyone wanting to enroll in virtual classes will have to apply and have it approved by their site administration. Please note that CPS will not be offering a blended pathway next year. I'd like to ask everyone to keep the Blake's family in your thoughts and prayers after last week's tragedy in their family. And thank you for the birthday wishes. Turning 50 has been a little fun today.
Okay, and we're ready for item 34. I need a motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion and a second, roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it, boys and girls.